Spinal cord conduction pathways. In this lecture, I will discuss sensory and motor spinal cord conduction pathways, distinguish between upper and lower motor neurons, and describe the direct and indirect motor pathways. Spinal pathways are sensory or motor. Your body is in contact with an external and an internal environment. To take care of your body, your brain needs information about these environments. Information about what is going on outside of your body, like is it raining or are you getting wet? And information about what is going on inside your body, like is your bladder full and needs to be emptied? So sensory information ascends to the brain to make your brain aware of what is going on inside and outside of you. And then decisions are made and motor pathways descend down from the brain, telling your muscles, organs, and glands what to do. Maybe you need your arm muscles to contract to put a jacket on, or you need your leg muscles to contract to walk your body under some shelter, or walk you into a restroom. You need to hold the urine until the socially correct time, and then you need to manage your clothes and release the urine, and wash your hands. Cell bodies are grouped together. That gives some protection and convenience for the body. So cell bodies are found in the ganglia and in the gray matter of the spinal cord and brain. The nerves, bundles of axons, are called tracts, passages, because they contain axons. Axons are the neuron fibers. Each pathway consists of at least 2 neurons, and often more. The spinal pathways are paired. There is always a right and left tract, one for each side of the body. Most pathways cross over or decussate. Because the pathways cross over, each side of the brain controls the other side of the body, that is, the contralateral side. But not all pathways cross over. So if the pathway doesn't cross over, then the brain controls the same side of the body, the ipsilateral side. Contra means opposite, and ipsi means same. Sensory, ascending pathways bring information from the body to the brain. This information includes proprioception, touch, temperature, pressure, and pain. Somatosensory pathways carry signals from the skin, muscles, and joints. Soma means body. Viscerosensory pathways carry signals from the viscera, which are our internal organs. Sensory pathways use a series of 2 or 3 neurons to transmit nerve signals from the body to the brain, that is, primary, secondary, and tertiary neurons. The primary, or first-order neuron, is a sensory neuron. That is, its dendrites have peripheral endings. The cell body is located in the posterior root ganglion of a spinal nerve, and the axon synapses with a secondary neuron. The secondary and tertiary neurons are interneurons. Secondary neurons receive signals from primary neurons, and then the secondary neurons either synapse with tertiary neurons or they synapse in the cerebellum. That is, they connect to neurons in the cerebellum. Tertiary neurons receive input from secondary neurons and synapse in the cerebrum. Do you remember where sensory signals go in the cerebrum? That's right. Sensory information goes to the primary somatosensory cortex in the postcentral gyrus of the parietal lobe, and that is where tertiary neurons end, that is, they synapse with cerebral neurons. The image summarizes the sensory pathways, how they ascend to the brain, beginning with primary neurons. The sensory pathways include the posterior funiculus, anterolateral pathway, and the spinocerebellar pathway. Their names tell you where they originate, this is where they begin, and where they end. The posterior funiculus begins with a somatic receptor and carries the signal to the primary somatosensory cortex of the postcentral gyrus of the parietal lobe of the cerebrum. The anterolateral pathway is also called the spinothalamic pathway, so it relays sensory input related to crude touch and pressure, pain and temperature from the spinal cord to the thalamus. The spinocerebellar pathway originates in the spinal cord and ends in the cerebellum. Motor pathways are descending pathways. That is, they carry signals from the brain to the body and control effectors, which are muscles and glands. Each pathway includes at least two neurons, an upper motor neuron and a lower motor neuron. The cell body of the upper motor neuron is in the brain, either the cerebrum or brainstem, and synapses with a lower motor neuron. Brain injury can damage upper motor neurons. Lower motor neurons are either in cranial nerve nuclei or the spinal cord. They exit the central nervous system and synapse with the effector, in this case, skeletal muscle fibers. Lower motor neuron signals are always excitatory because they synapse with skeletal muscle fibers. The image summarizes motor pathways that descend from the brain to the body, beginning with the upper motor neurons and ending with lower motor neurons that connect directly with skeletal muscle fibers. Motor neurons form two types of motor pathways, the direct pathway and the indirect pathway. The direct pathway is responsible for conscious control of skeletal muscle activity. The indirect pathway is responsible for subconscious or reflexive control of skeletal muscle. Upper motor neurons of indirect pathways begin in the brainstem and take a more complicated path to the spinal cord. The image shows a direct motor pathway beginning with an upper motor neuron in the primary motor area in the precentral gyrus of the frontal lobe, crossing over, and synapsing with a lower motor neuron that innervates a contralateral muscle, so going from left parietal lobe to a muscle on the right side of the body.